Millionaire calls Black Maid's daughter to play chess as a joke. He didn't know she was a genius. Are you actually letting her win? The voice was sharp, disbelieving. Around the table, the silence thickened. She's cheating, someone muttered under their breath, but no one laughed. The girl didn't flinch. She stared across the ornate mahogany chessboard, her knuckles resting lightly against her chin. Her eyes, dark and steady, didn't leave the man opposite her. Her opponent, a white-haired billionaire in a navy blue cashmere sweater, blinked twice and pressed his fingers into his temple, visibly sweating. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "You're in check," she said quietly. The board was a battlefield. Pieces had fallen fast, reckless sacrifices. But what was left was a trap, one he'd walked right into. From the back of the room, the guests leaned in. Lawyers, investors, sons of oil barons. A few staff stood frozen, half holding trays. No one moved. The man stood up. "This is some kind of setup," he said. But he didn't sound sure. The girl leaned back in her chair. "You asked me to play. You're the maid's daughter," he snapped. "You're not supposed to." He stopped. All eyes turned to her. She met his gaze. Calm. Controlled. Her voice was barely above a whisper when she asked, "Do you want to resign?" His hand hovered over the board. She looked down at his king, then back up at him. "What's it gonna be?" 2 months earlier, there was no polished table, no crowd, just the constant hum of laundry machines and the heavy smell of bleach and lavender softener. Maya Johnson sat cross-legged on the back steps of the Wexler estate, her knees dusted with grass stains. She held a beat-up library copy of Endgame Techniques in her lap, pages soft at the corners, spine cracked. Her mother's voice echoed from the open kitchen window above her. "Don't go getting your hopes up with these folks, Maya. These people don't see us. They see what we do for them." Maya didn't answer. She turned a page. Her mom, Angela, had worked for the Wexler family since Maya was 6. Cleaning, cooking, running errands, sometimes staying overnight if one of the family had a tantrum or a meltdown and needed something. God forbid, inconvenient like comfort. The house was bigger than anything Maya could imagine living in. 3 floors, marble floors, a grand piano no one played, and a wine cellar that smelled like old secrets. Maya had spent her childhood in the shadows of it, reading while her mom folded sheets, listening while the Wexlers fought over stock options or influencer scandals. She knew the rules. Don't touch anything. Don't speak unless spoken to. Always smile. Always be grateful. But now she was 17 and tired of pretending she wasn't brilliant. She'd taught herself chess when she was 10, stealing old copies of Chess Life from the community center. At 13, she started crushing everyone at the park tables in South Baltimore. Old men who first laughed, then stared, then walked away silent. She didn't play online. No computer. No coach. Just books and blood and memory. No one at school knew how good she was. Why would they? She kept to herself. Honors classes, yes. Friends, not really. Teachers either talked down to her or ignored her entirely. Except Mr. Dillon. He ran the library club, even though nobody came. Maya did. He saw her reading My 60 Memorable Games one day and raised an eyebrow. "You know Fisher played that line against Spa Sky in Game 6, right?" he said, smiling. Maya looked up. "Yeah. He won with the bishop pair." That was the first time someone in her life looked at her like she was more than a quiet black girl with tired sneakers. And that small thing, that look, made her believe it might be okay to dream a little louder. Then came the fundraiser. It was late April when the email went out. Wexler Enterprises was hosting an event at the estate, some absurd mix of philanthropy and PR stunt. They were inviting gifted students from local schools for a night of catered networking, games, and mind challenges. Their words, not hers. Maya didn't want to go, but Mr. Dillon practically begged her. "They're hosting a chess exhibition," he said, handing her a crisp white invitation. "Some GM from New York, I think. Just go. Show them what they're missing." She raised an eyebrow. "Why would they want me there?" "Because you'll embarrass them," he said, and for once, she grinned. So she went. She wore her best jeans, a plain blue blouse, and sneakers cleaned with a toothbrush the night before. She walked through the front doors like she belonged, even though her mother gave her a look that said, "Please don't make trouble." Inside was a world of glass smiles and manicured lies. Men with fake tans. Women with diamonds the size of teeth. Waiters in black. Kids in pressed suits who stared at her like she wandered into the wrong movie. She found the chess tables in the garden. White tents, polished boards, name tags, a man with a sharp accent, and a too-perfect jawline greeting guests. "You're here for the match?" he asked. Maya nodded. He didn't ask her name, just pointed to a folding chair. She sat, waited, watched. The games began, mostly for show. Executives against their kids. Investors pretending they knew the Sicilian. No one expected anything real. Until Raymond Wexler walked in. Ray Wexler, founder of Wexler Enterprises. Billionaire. Retired tech mogul. Chess obsessive. He was known for playing surprise matches at parties, usually against people he thought he could humiliate. Always with a glass of wine. Always with an audience. He glanced at the girl sitting alone. "Who's this?" he asked. The GM shrugged. "Just one of the local students." Ray smiled like he smelled a joke coming. "Well then, let's give her a shot." People laughed. Chairs were moved. Phones came out. He sat down across from her. Poured himself a drink. "What's your name?" he asked. "Maya. Do you know who I am?" She nodded. "Yeah." He chuckled. "Then you know this won't take long." And he moved his pawn. That was move 1. 38 moves later, his king was hanging by a thread. Maya didn't blink. He looked at the board, at her, and back again. A ripple moved through the crowd. One of the staff whispered something. Someone else gasped. But Maya stayed silent. Check. Check. Checkmate. The room stilled. And now, here, back in the present. She leaned forward slightly and repeated the question. "Do you want to resign?" His mouth opened. Closed. The air felt like it would break. And then, from the back of the room, a voice none of them expected. Angela. Maya's mother. She stepped forward, apron still on, eyes blazing. "Answer her," she said. And Ray Wexler looked like he'd seen a ghost. The silence cracked. Angela stood tall, arms crossed, chin high. She wasn't loud. She didn't have to be. The weight of her words pressed into the room like thunder without the lightning. Raymond Wexler turned toward her, blinking like someone had poured cold water down his back. "What did you say?" he asked, voice tight. "I said answer her," Angela repeated. Maya didn't look away from the board. Her fingers tapped once against the table, a tiny rhythm she always did when she was 2 steps ahead and waiting for the world to catch up. Ray glanced down. The king was trapped. No escape. Not even a decent delay. He could either tip it or lie. He reached out slowly, like his hand weighed more than it should, and pressed his fingers against the top of the piece. It fell. A soft clink. Maya nodded once. A kid in the back said, "Holy SH," before someone hushed him. Ray pushed himself away from the table, exhaled like he'd just finished a surgery, and stood up. "Who trained you?" he asked, narrowing his eyes. "No one," Maya said. He looked at Angela, then back at her. "You're telling me you learned all that from books?" "Yes." He didn't believe her. He wasn't supposed to lose. A man who built an empire on knowing the next move, humiliated by a teenager in sneakers. Angela moved toward her daughter, a protective edge in her walk. Maya stood up. "I think we're done here," Angela said, her voice flat. Ray opened his mouth again, but whatever comeback he was working on died on the tip of his tongue. Maya and Angela walked out together. Behind them, murmurs rippled like wind through dry leaves. Someone muttered, "That was insane." Someone else whispered, "Did you film it?" Another voice said, "Wexler's gonna fire someone for this." But none of it mattered. Not to Maya. Her heart pounded like a war drum. Not from fear. From knowing. He underestimated her. They all did. And for once, they paid for it. The next morning, Maya was back at the park. Not for the game. For the quiet. She sat at the same stone table she always used. Chipped, scarred, still better than any throne. The pieces were laid out in the center, untouched. She didn't want to play. She just wanted to think. The whole thing felt unreal. She hadn't meant to humiliate anyone. It was just a game. Just lines and tactics and instincts she couldn't explain. But last night, she saw something in those rich men's eyes she hadn't seen before. Not pity. Not condescension. Fear. Back at the Wexler estate, everything was burning quietly. Not literally. But in that quiet way powerful people spiral. Lawsuits whispered about. PR teams texting each other at midnight. Executives questioning if Ray was losing his edge. Ray sat alone in his study, lights dimmed, curtains drawn. His laptop screen glowed with a paused YouTube video. The moment the girl, Maya, announced checkmate. He watched it again. And again. And again. It wasn't luck. She didn't stumble into a win. She constructed it. Ray wasn't just beaten. He was outplayed. Brilliantly. Systematically. He closed the laptop, picked up his phone, and made a call. Angela didn't trust it when the letter came. It arrived in a black envelope. Thick. Embossed. No return address. She opened it in the kitchen with shaking hands. Dear Miss Johnson and Maya, it began. Ray Wexler wanted to make an offer. A full scholarship for Maya to attend the exclusive Dalman Chess Academy in Boston. Tuition, housing, travel, everything. Immediate enrollment. World-class training. A fast track to international competition. Angela blinked. She turned the page. There was more. A non-disclosure agreement. A media clause. The fine print buzzed like a warning siren in her head. She dropped the letter on the counter and called Maya. I don't trust him, Angela said, pacing. Maya sat across from her, arms folded. I don't either. So then what are we even talking about? Maya looked down. Her voice was quiet. Because I can't afford to be afraid of it. Angela stopped. What does that mean? It means I'll never get another shot like this. Not from people like them. You know that. I know that. Angela's eyes glistened, but she didn't look away. So what? You take his money? Let him own your future. No. I take it, and then I beat them with it. The words hung there. Angela stared at her daughter. She saw it then, not just the intelligence, not just the stubbornness, the fire. The same fire she had once. Before the world taught her to fold her edges. You're going to break your heart doing this, Angela said. I'd rather break it than never use it, Maya replied. Silence. Angela walked to the counter, picked up the letter, read it again, then handed it to her daughter. You better win. Maya didn't smile. She just nodded. That night, Maya lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She thought about Ray Wexler's face as the king toppled. She thought about the way silence tastes when it turns into power. But mostly, she thought about what she still didn't know. Why him? Why now? And why did she feel like she'd just stepped onto a board where the real game hadn't even started yet? The next morning, a new envelope slid under their door. This one had no signature. No explanation. Just a note in sharp block letters. Welcome to the opening. Be careful what you sacrifice. Maya held the paper for a long time, then looked up at her mother. Angela was already shaking her head, but Maya was already packing. Maya stared out the train window, her breath fogging the glass. The city blurred past, buildings giving way to trees and sky. She hadn't spoken since they left the station. Angela sat beside her, arms crossed, lips pressed into a thin line. The suitcase at her feet still had the thrift store price tag on the handle. She hadn't wanted Maya to bring it. It made them look too real. You sure you're ready for this? Angela asked quietly. Maya didn't look away from the window. No. Angela huffed, a dry almost laugh. At least you're honest. The train groaned as it curved through the countryside. Maya rested her forehead against the cold glass and watched the gray clouds roll in. The Dalman Chess Academy wasn't listed on any school ranking site. It didn't advertise. It didn't have open houses. You got in one of two ways, born into it or invited. Ray Wexler had somehow done both for her, and that made her stomach turn. The school was a converted estate tucked deep into rural Massachusetts. Gothic, secluded, almost aggressively private. When they arrived at the gates, a man in a dark coat checked a clipboard and waved them through without smiling. Inside, the place was something out of an old novel: stone walls, black iron lamps, tall, narrow windows. The kind of place that seemed built to keep secrets. Angela gripped Maya's shoulder as they walked across the courtyard. You don't owe these people anything. Maya nodded, but part of her already felt swallowed. A woman in a charcoal suit met them at the door. She introduced herself as Ms. Harlan, head of admissions. She looked like she hadn't blinked in years. We're pleased to have you, she said to Maya, and only Maya. Angela didn't miss it. Let me be clear, she said, stepping in. My daughter is not here to be some sideshow for your donors. Ms. Harlan blinked. Once. Your daughter is here because she won a game. What happens next depends on whether she can keep winning. Angela started to respond, but Maya touched her arm. It's okay. Ms. Harlan turned. Let me show you to your room. They walked down a long corridor, each step echoing off the stone. Maya tried to keep her head high. It felt like walking into a castle and being told you were here to fight dragons. Her dorm room was small but immaculate. A desk, a narrow bed, a single chessboard inlaid into the table surface, its pieces carved from dark wood and ivory. Ms. Harlan gestured to it. You'll be tested soon. Until then, Rest. Orientation is tomorrow morning. Tested how? Maya asked. But the woman was already gone. Angela left that night. She held Maya for longer than usual at the gate, brushing a curl from her daughter's forehead. Call me. Every day. Maya nodded. I will. But the gate locked behind her with a sound like finality. Back in her room, Maya unpacked slowly. Book by book, shirt by shirt. She placed her beat-up copy of Endgame Techniques on the shelf next to a line of hardbound volumes with gold titles she'd never seen. She sat at the desk, studied the board, and waited. The first test came at 5 a.m. A knock, then a voice through the door. Room 47. Report to the strategy wing. Now. Maya blinked the sleep from her eyes, threw on a sweatshirt, and hurried down the hall. The strategy wing was cold and dimly lit, lined with portraits of long-dead masters. At the end of the corridor, a heavy wooden door stood open. Inside, 5 students sat at individual tables, each facing a board already set up. Maya took the empty seat. A thin man with silver-rimmed glasses stepped forward. I'm Mr. Calhoun. You're here to prove you belong. 10 problems. 1 minute each. No takebacks. If you fail more than 3, you're dismissed. Maya's heart kicked against her ribs. Dismissed? Before she could ask anything, a buzzer sounded. Board 1 lit up. A knife fork. Simple. She solved it in 12 seconds. Board 2. Stalemate trap. She grinned. 3, 4, 5. Easy. 6. A wall. She stared at it. A quiet panic stirred in her chest. The position was deep. Sharp. A maze of false mates. 30 seconds. 20. She closed her eyes. Visualized. Then slammed the move. Correct. By problem 9, she was sweating. By 10, she was shaking. But she passed. Perfect score. Mr. Calhoun didn't smile. Just nodded. You'll be moved to Tier 1. What's that mean? She asked. He looked at her. It means from now on, the games are real. Tier 1 students didn't eat with the others. They had their own schedule, their own tutors, and their own room in the basement. The playroom, they called it, though there was nothing playful about it. It was a chamber of soundproof glass. In the center, a single table. No spectators allowed. No phones. No talking. You played. You won. Or you disappeared. Maya played her first match 3 days later. Her opponent was a boy named Leland, a prep school prodigy with slicked back hair and an expression like someone constantly smelling something bad. He didn't say a word when he sat down, just nodded, tapped the clock, and played 1.e4. Maya played the French defense. 15 minutes in, she had him in a bind. He fidgeted, adjusted his collar, glanced at the camera in the ceiling. Then he played something reckless. She saw through it. Trapped his bishop, his queen, made in 3. He didn't even wait for it. He stood up and left before the final move. She sat alone in the glass room, clock still ticking. And suddenly, she realized, this wasn't a school. It was a ladder, and someone at the top didn't want her climbing it. That night, she found a note under her door. Folded twice. No signature. You made your first move. Now he's going to make his. She stared at it for a long time. Her first instinct was to crumple it. Her second was to burn it. Instead, she slid it into her book and whispered to the air, let him. But deep down, something inside her stirred. A quiet dread. Because if Ray Wexler was playing again, this time, he wouldn't lose quietly. The next morning, Maya woke to find her mattress soaked. Not water. Ink. Black, thick, still wet around the edges. It bled through her sheets, staining her arms and shirt. Her books were ruined. Her notes, gone. She stared in disbelief, breathing shallow. The board on her desk was untouched. Just the bed. Just the message. She stepped back, heart racing. On the wall above her pillow, scrawled in wide strokes of the same ink. You're not supposed to be here. She stood frozen for a moment, then moved fast. She cleaned it, scrubbed with towels, used soap from the tiny bathroom. Her hands turned gray, the ink clinging to her skin like it knew her. When she was done, she stared at her reflection in the mirror. Pale, shaken, but not broken. She didn't tell anyone. She knew better. Snitches got pushed down the ladder. Or off it. Instead, she slipped her ruined notebook into the trash, grabbed a clean sheet of paper, and started rebuilding. From memory. Her mother called that night. Maya lied. Tired, she said. A lot of work. Angela paused. You're safe? Maya hesitated. Yeah. You're eating? Yeah. Any of those kids bothering you? I don't talk to them much. Angela didn't press, but Maya knew she knew. Her mom always knew when she was pretending. She just never forced the truth before it was ready. Before she hung up, Angela said, "Don't let them change who you are." Maya whispered, "I won't." But she wasn't sure she could promise that anymore. The next match was against a girl named Eliza. Small, blonde, eyes like cold coins. She didn't blink much, just watched. When Maya walked into the playroom, Eliza was already there, hands folded, board set. Maya sat. Eliza smiled, but not warmly. "You're the one who beat Wexler," she said. Maya didn't answer. "He hates being embarrassed," Eliza added, moving her first pawn. Maya replied with one, C6. Caro-can. Eliza raised an eyebrow. Defensive. Smart. The game unfolded like a knife fight in slow motion. Maya was ahead by tempo early, but Eliza played like a mirror. Everything Maya did, she echoed back crueler, tighter. By move 27, Maya had to sacrifice a rook to survive. By 35, Eliza had her on the ropes. But at 38, Maya saw it. A single misstep in Eliza's formation. A vulnerable pawn chain. A bishop she'd ignored for 3 turns. Maya took the opening, slipped through, cut into her queen's defenses, and forced a queen trade. Then she was up. Eliza leaned forward. "You're better than I thought." "Most people say that," Maya replied, her voice calm. 2 moves later, Maya took her king. No one clapped. No one spoke. The glass walls felt colder than usual. Eliza leaned back and grinned. "Hope you're ready for what comes next." "What's that mean?" Eliza stood, gathering her pieces. "Everyone's watching now. Wexler doesn't pick people like you unless you're part of something." Maya's voice went low. "You think this is a setup?" Eliza looked at her one last time. "I think he didn't bring you here to win." Then she walked out. Maya sat at the board long after the clock stopped. Her fingers traced the squares. She was used to people hating her for being better than they expected. She was used to pressure, used to silence. But this felt different. It wasn't just about beating her. It was about testing her, seeing what she'd do under fire, seeing if she'd snap. And the worst part? A small part of her wanted to. 3 days later, she was summoned. Not by Ms. Harlan, not by Mr. Calhoun, by Wexler himself. A black car picked her up from the front gate. She didn't want to go, but refusing wasn't an option. Not here. The ride was silent. Driver didn't speak. Just drove through the woods like something out of a nightmare, winding roads and thick trees closing in. They stopped at a massive estate. Not his usual house. This one was colder, newer, all glass and stone, like a bunker designed by a billionaire afraid of the sun. He was waiting for her in the study. Same navy sweater, same drink in hand. She walked in and didn't sit. "You wanted to see me?" she said. He studied her like she was a strange book he wasn't sure how to read. "You're causing waves," he said. "Some people think I brought you here as a joke. Others think you're the joke. What do you think?" "I think I underestimated you," he said simply. Maya didn't respond. "I also think you're not playing the full game." She tilted her head. "Meaning?" He stood, walked to the fireplace. "Everyone who comes here gets tested. Some through matches, others through different pressure. You've had a bit of both." She stared at him. "Was the ink you?" "No," he said too quickly. She didn't believe him. "I brought you here because I wanted to see what someone like you would do when the rules were rigged," he said. "You've done better than most." "Why me?" He turned, met her eyes. "Because you embarrassed me, and I needed to know if it was a fluke or the beginning of something." Maya stepped forward, her fists clenched. "So you're telling me all this? What, because you want credit for discovering me?" "No," he said, "because I want to offer you a deal." Her stomach dropped. "I'll sponsor you. Publicly. International tournaments. Media. The works. But you play under my brand. As my student." Maya stared at him. "So I win, but only as your property?" "It's not slavery, Maya," he said, tone light. "It feels close." He sighed. "You can say no, but I'll make sure you never play again. Not at this level. Not anywhere that matters." She swallowed. "I thought you liked games," he said. "This is just the bigger board." Maya looked at the man who had tried to use her, then elevate her, then own her. She looked at the fireplace behind him, the shadows on the wall, the drink in his hand, and she smiled. But it wasn't kind. "I'll think about it," she said. He grinned. Smart girl. On the way out, she took one last look at the estate and knew exactly what her next move would be. The car ride back was quiet, But Maya's mind was loud. Ray Wexler had made his offer clear. Play for him, wear his brand, and get everything she ever dreamed of. Fame, power, respect. But it would never really be hers. Every move would be under his shadow. Every win would have an asterisk. She kept picturing his face. That smug half-smile, like he already knew what she'd say. Like she'd break herself in half just to step through a door he opened for her. No, she wasn't a pawn. Not his. Not anyone's. The academy campus looked the same when she returned, but something had shifted. A few students watched her walk past, whispering just loud enough for her to hear. That's her. Wexler's pet project. Heard she didn't even qualify. Just got invited. She didn't flinch. She didn't slow down. But the words stuck to her like sweat. Back in her dorm, she found another note. Slipped under the door again. This time, it wasn't ink or threat. Just a folded scrap of lined paper, messy handwriting. If you're smart, leave. This place eats people like you. Ask what happened to Caleb King. She read it 3 times. The name was unfamiliar. She tore it in half and flushed it. But it followed her all day, like a riddle in the back of her mind. Caleb King. At lunch, she pulled out her tablet and started searching the student archives. Not on the school site. Everything there was polished, curated, censored. But buried in an old competition roster from 2 years ago, she found it. Caleb King, national finalist. Dalman Academy. Then nothing. No matches. No rankings. Gone. She opened the old forum logs Mr. Dillon once showed her, where serious players tracked rumors and underground matches. It took an hour. Then she found it. A thread titled, "What Happened to King?" Most replies were vague. Some were angry. One said he'd cracked under pressure. Another said he left after accusing Wexler of manipulating games. But the last reply was the one that made Maya's fingers go cold. You don't disappear at Dalman. You get absorbed. She locked her tablet and stared at the window. Rain tapped against the glass like a warning. This wasn't just about chess. This was about control. About power. And she was being pulled into something with teeth. That night, she broke curfew. She waited until lights out, slipped on her sneakers, and crept out of her dorm, hoodie up. The hallways were quiet. Stone underfoot. Cameras perched in corners, but she knew how to avoid them. Blind spots between pillars and door frames. She made her way to the lower archives. A locked room off the old library, mostly untouched. She'd seen the code once when a staff member forgot to cover the keypad. The door clicked open. Inside, it smelled like dust and old paper. Shelves ran along the walls, filled with binders and yearbooks and match records. She found the one marked 2022. Flipped to the back. Caleb King's name was there, barely. A photo. A summary. Then an asterisk and a line. Withdrew for personal reasons. No details. No statement. Just erased. She pulled more files. His match history. Rankings. All of it stopped abruptly, like someone slammed a door shut. She stood up to leave, but a sound stopped her. Footsteps. She froze. The door opened. A figure stepped inside, flashlight cutting across the room. Maya ducked behind the shelf, heart pounding. Whoever's in here. The voice said softly, "You're not alone." It wasn't security. It was another student. A girl, maybe 17, with short hair and a crooked scar above her left eyebrow. She stepped further in. "You're Maya, right?" Maya didn't answer. "I saw what Wexler offered you." That got her attention. Maya stood slowly. "And who are you?" The girl held up her hands. "Name's Brooke. I was in Tier 1 last year." Before I said no. "To what?" "To the game behind the game." Maya narrowed her eyes. "You mean the matches?" "No. I mean the deals. The side bets. The control." Brooke walked closer, voice quiet. "They pick people like us, different, brilliant, loud in the wrong ways. They chew us up. And if you play too well without bending, they either own you or erase you." "Like Caleb," Maya whispered. Brooke nodded. "He wouldn't play ball. Said no to their offers. 2 weeks later, he was gone. Where? No one knows. Wexler said he left to focus on personal growth. But I heard him scream the night before he vanished. From the old wing." Maya's stomach turned. Brooke pulled something from her coat, a flash drive. "He kept a journal. I got it before they wiped his room. I've been sitting on it, waiting for someone else who pissed Wexler off." Maya took it slowly. "Why me?" "Because you beat him. In front of people. You made him bleed. And people like Wexler? They never forget." Maya clenched the drive in her fist. "What's on here?" "Proof. Brooks said. But it's messy. You'll have to dig. And if I show it to anyone? Brooks' eyes darkened. They'll say you forged it. Or worse, say you stole it. He controls the school board, the donors, the system. Maya nodded once. Then something shifted in her chest. Not fear. Not anger. Strategy. I don't want to survive this place, she said. Brooke tilted her head. Then what do you want? Maya looked her dead in the eye. I want to burn it down. Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat on her bed, headphones in, the room lit only by the glow of her laptop screen. The flash drive Brooke gave her was cheap, scratched, and beat up, but it clicked into the port like it belonged there. It held one folder. No name. No date. Just a series of files, numbered 1 through 17. The first was a video. She pressed play. Static. Then a shaky recording. A dorm room, dimly lit. Caleb King's face filled the frame, too close at first, then settling as he propped the camera up on something. His eyes were tired, red around the edges. His voice was low, measured. If you're watching this, it means you're either like me or already in too deep to get out. Maya leaned in. I thought this place was a gift. Full ride. Best training in the country. The way they talked, it sounded like they were building champions. But they're not. He paused, looking down. They're building products. He went on. Talked about the sponsorships, the pressure to throw matches, the donors who wanted predictability. They want us to play like machines, not people, he said. And when we don't, when we fight back. He didn't finish the sentence. Instead, the camera cut. The next file was a photo, a snapshot of an email from someone at Wexler Enterprises, addressed to Ms. Harlan. If the King boy refuses again, we'll have to isolate him. A scare should be enough. If not, removal is on the table. Maya stared at the word removal for a long time. The other files were worse. Text messages from staff. Edited transcripts of matches that had been doctored to make players look weaker than they were. Even recordings of conversations between Wexler and coaches, discussing students like they were stocks. She clicked through until the last file. Another video. This one was darker. Caleb again. But this time, his voice was rushed. Afraid. I think they're coming for me. I heard footsteps outside my door at 3 a.m. They've got cameras in the walls. I know they do. If I disappear, if I go quiet, don't believe anything they say. A bang sounded in the background. Caleb jumped. He whispered something Maya had to replay 3 times to understand. Don't play their game. Build your own. Then the screen went black. The sun hadn't risen yet. Maya was still sitting there when the knock came. Not the usual wake-up tap. A hard, deliberate bang, bang, bang. She froze. Then stood. Opened the door. 2 men in gray uniforms stood in the hall. Not staff. Not security. Enforcers. We've been asked to escort you to Headmistress Harlan's office. No explanation. No smile. Maya nodded once. Her stomach was stone. She slipped the flash drive into her sock before they saw it. Ms. Harlan's office was even colder than usual. She didn't offer Maya a seat. Do you know why you're here? She asked, hands folded on the desk. Maya didn't blink. No. We've been made aware of unauthorized access to the archives. Security flagged motion near the lower levels. I went looking for my match records. Lying won't help you, Ms. Harlan said, her tone razor-sharp. Maya stayed still. You're not like the others, Harlan went on. You don't flinch. You don't ask questions you don't want answered. That's dangerous here. I thought this place was for dangerous people. It's for people who know how to be dangerous. When? Where? For whom? A pause. Wexler offered you something very few people get. And now, instead of being grateful, you're playing detective. Maya's voice was steady. What happened to Caleb King? A long silence followed. Then, for the first time, Harlan smiled. I see. She stood, walked to the window. Caleb was unstable. Brilliant, but paranoid. He broke the rules. He made threats. He left. That's not what he said. Harlan turned slowly. He's not here to tell his side anymore. The words hit like a slap. You have 2 choices, she said. Accept your place here, and we elevate you. Make you untouchable. Or you keep digging, and we bury you deeper than Caleb. Maya didn't answer. So Harlan leaned forward. This school has survived for a century. Wexler didn't build it. He refined it. You are a moment. A story. Replaceable. She waved a hand. The 2 enforcers stepped forward again. You're dismissed. Maya walked out, heart pounding. As the door closed behind her, she didn't cry. She didn't shake. She planned. That night, She met Brooke in the basement laundry room. No cameras, no microphones, just steam and soap and the low, constant hum of machines. "They're on to you already?" Brooke asked, arms crossed. Maya handed her the flash drive. "It's real? It's all real." Brooke nodded. "I know. They're watching us. All of us. They've always been watching. The trick is making them look without realizing you're leading them." Maya leaned back against the dryer. "I want to leak it." "Not enough," Brooke said. "What? Even if we post the videos, the documents, they'll bury it. Frame you. Say you cracked under pressure. That you cheated." Maya clenched her jaw. "So we do nothing?" "No," Brooke said. "We go louder." Maya looked up. "How?" Brooke smiled, and for a second, she looked like she had teeth made of fire. "We beat every one of their golden boys. We drag them through every match. And when they start changing the rules, we catch them live." Live. Dalman streams 1 game per month on the school's internal channel. No editing. No delay. "Next month, it's your turn." Maya blinked. "So we show them what happens when the system chokes on someone it can't control." "Exactly." Maya exhaled. "Then I'll need prep. I need to be perfect." "You already are," Brooke said. "Now you just need to be terrifying." Maya spent the next 3 weeks training harder than she ever had. Not just in the playroom. Not just with books. She studied the players, their habits, their cracks, the subtle ways Wexler's favorites bent the rules to win. She memorized their matches, found every moment of arrogance, every weakness in their play, and quietly, she rebuilt Caleb's files into a single, untraceable package, ready for detonation. The night before the streamed match, she found another note under her door. No threat this time. Just one line. "Kings fall. Queens rise. Your move." Maya read it twice, then burned it. The match was tomorrow, and this time, the whole house of cards would be watching. The morning of the match, Maya woke before her alarm. The academy was quiet. Not peaceful, watchful. It had the same heavy stillness a house gets right before a storm hits. She could feel it in the floorboards. In the air. She dressed slow. Black pants. A dark gray shirt. Simple. Sharp. She tied her curls back tight, not for style, but for focus. No distractions. No excuses. When she stepped into the corridor, 3 Tier 2 students were waiting by the stairs. One of them, a boy named Jonas, smirked. "Heard you're the opening act for the Wexler show today." Maya didn't slow down. "Enjoy the front row." He muttered something behind her back, but she didn't catch it. She was already gone. In the playroom, the streaming equipment had been set up overnight. Cameras hung from the corners like eyes. A mic dangled from the ceiling above the table. The broadcast would go to every classroom, dorm common area, and faculty office across campus. Unedited. Raw. That was the rule, and Maya was about to weaponize it. Her opponent was already waiting. Logan Pierce, Dalman's golden boy. Slick. Smiling. Rich. His dad ran a hedge fund. His mother sat on the school's donor board. He played like a politician, just enough aggression to scare you, just enough charm to sell it. He stood as Maya walked in, offered a hand. "Big day, huh?" She looked at it. Didn't take it. "Let's play." He smirked and sat. The board was already set. White pieces were hers. She reached forward. Moved pawn to e4. Logan mirrored it. e5. And the game began. It was clean at first. Classical opening. Balanced. But Maya knew better. This wasn't just a match. It was a test. She played the Scotch gambit. Aggressive. Fast. Logan hesitated. That was her first win, even before the clock showed it. He fell back on theory, relying on patterns. Comfort. By move 16, she had him playing her game. By 22, he blundered a knight. That's when she knew the fear was creeping in. And that's when the board buzzed. Just slightly. Just enough. Maya's fingers froze over her rook. She looked up at the camera. Then at Logan. His smile had dropped. "What was that?" she asked quietly. He shrugged. "What was what?" The buzz came again. Stronger. A pulse through the board. She realized what it was. The board was rigged. Pressure sensors. Vibration cues. Micro-activations under the table. They were feeding him signals. Probably coded. Light pulses. Maybe heat shifts. She looked at him again. He knew. Maya leaned back in her chair, stared at the board, and said, clearly, for the mic, "We doing this with training wheels today, Logan? Or you want to play like a real boy?" The room went dead silent. Across campus, dozens of eyes locked onto screens. Logan's face changed. Not panic. Not shame. Annoyance. You're being dramatic, he muttered. Maya didn't flinch. Your king's too turns from death. And you're still trying to lie to a camera. Logan stood. This is against code. So is cheating. The playroom doors burst open. Mr. Calhoun stormed in, followed by 2 tech staff and Ms. Harlan herself. Pause the game, she ordered. The camera kept rolling. No, Maya said. Let it run. Maya, Harlan warned. This isn't the place. This is exactly the place. She stood, pulled the flash drive from her pocket, and held it up to the nearest camera. I have recordings, messages, evidence. Everything you've done to rig this academy, to silence students who don't play dirty, to protect this, she pointed at Logan, while people like Caleb King vanish. The silence was a vacuum. Even Harlan didn't speak. Broadcast live, Maya said. You want to cut it? Everyone watching will know exactly why. Harlan turned to the tech team. Her voice was ice. Shut it down. The tech hesitated, but Maya was already moving. She walked to the panel under the main console and ripped the flash drive into the port. Calhoun lunged, but he was too late. The screen behind the players lit up. File loading, the King archive. One by one, videos began to play. Caleb's warnings. The leaked email. The threats. The room was frozen. Maya turned to face the camera head-on. I'm not just here to win games, she said. I'm here to expose the ones who rig them. Then she looked at Logan. Check. The board behind them flickered. The match was still live. She moved her queen. Checkmate. The moment burned itself into the school's servers, phones, feeds. Unstoppable. Then, the screen went black. The feed cut. The playroom lights snapped off. Everything went still. Then, alarms. Footsteps. Maya turned. Brooks stood in the doorway, breathless. We have to move. Now. They're going to shut the whole system down, she said. Erase the footage. Say it was a malfunction. Maya grabbed her bag. Let them try. She followed Brooke into the hallway. They ran. Down the back stairs. Through the kitchens. Out across the courtyard where students were already streaming from buildings, phones in hand, whispers flying like arrows. She exposed Wexler. They rigged the matches? Was that Caleb on the video? Maya didn't stop. She and Brooke ducked into the administration wing, found the server room, locked the door behind them. Brooke pulled up a console. We can clone the archive, dump it to the external cloud, but they'll be here in minutes. Just need one, Maya said. She crouched beside her, watching the screen flash as files copied, fast as the system could handle. Footsteps thundered in the hall. Brooke's hands flew over the keyboard. 80%, 90, done. Maya yanked the drive, dropped it into her pocket just as the door burst open. 2 men in suits. One of them was from Wexler's personal team, the same one who picked her up in that silent car weeks ago. He pointed at Maya. She's expelled. Detained. But Maya stepped forward and handed him the flash drive. He blinked. What is this? Proof, she said. He narrowed his eyes. Then she smirked. It's fake. All of it. According to you, anyway. He hesitated. And that was enough time for Brooke to slide the real drive, the cloud-cloned one, into her coat pocket. Maya saw the flicker of doubt pass across the man's face. You should call your boss, she added. Tell him I just beat him twice. They were dragged to the headmistress's office, of course. Suspended. Threatened. Silenced. Officially, the footage was corrupted. The match, inconclusive. Maya was told her conduct violated school policy, but the students had seen it. Enough of them had screenshots, clips, copies. And the clone? That was already spreading. By nightfall, the files were uploaded to 4 private servers and 3 chess forums. Within 24 hours, a whistleblower account posted them on X, TikTok, and Reddit. And the story exploded. Elite chess school rigged matches, silenced student who beat billionaire. Hashtag free Caleb King. Hashtag play like Maya. She woke up the next day to a message from her mom. 3 words. You started something. Maya stared at the screen, smiled, and whispered back. Your move, Wexler. The media storm hit like a bomb. By noon, every major outlet was circling the same story. Chess prodigy exposes billionaire-backed cheating scandal at elite academy. Students live stream hijacked. Reveals whistleblower footage on air. Where is Caleb King? Public demands answers after footage surfaces. Dalman Academy closed its gates by 3 p.m. By 5, the website had been scrubbed. The official match records vanished. Wexler Enterprises released a vague statement about disruptive misinformation, but it was already too late. The footage was everywhere. It had been translated into 5 languages. Mirror sites kept it alive, and Maya Johnson was trending worldwide. She sat in a cramped office at the Baltimore Sun, across from a reporter named Alicia Dean, mid-30s, blazer rolled at the cuffs, voice too fast for her hands to keep up. Her recorder was already running. "You understand the risk you took?" Alicia asked, scribbling furiously. "These people, you embarrassed a billionaire on camera. You burned his brand to the ground." "I didn't burn it," Maya said, calm. "He doused it in gasoline. I just struck the match." Alicia laughed. "Where did you learn to talk like that?" "Chess," Maya said. "You learn real quick when to shut up and when to let the king bleed." Alicia's pen paused. "Did he ever threaten you directly?" "No, he didn't have to." "Do you think you're safe now?" Maya leaned back in her chair. "I think I stopped playing scared." Alicia's gaze softened. "What do you want out of all this? Justice? Fame?" Maya shook her head. "I want the next girl who walks into a room full of rich men and a chessboard to not be a joke to them." She stood. Interview over. Angela didn't say much when Maya got home. Just opened the door, pulled her into a hug, and didn't let go for a long time. Later that night, they sat on the couch, lights low, the TV buzzing with muted coverage. "Did I ruin everything?" Maya asked quietly. Angela turned toward her. "You ruined their comfort." "That's different." They sat in silence a while longer. Then Angela added, "Your grandmother used to say that chess wasn't about kings and queens. It was about rules. And who had the power to rewrite them?" Maya looked down at her hands, still ink-stained from the last fight. She nodded. "Then I want a new rule book." 2 weeks passed. The investigation expanded. Former students came forward. Teachers. Even a staff member from Wexler's private team leaked internal memos confirming what Maya exposed. Forced resignations, altered match scores, and a list of students labeled brand liabilities. At the top of the list? Maya Johnson, Caleb King, Brooke Ayers. No one could find Caleb. Until they did. The email came late. No subject line. Just a single Dropbox link. Maya clicked. A video opened. Caleb. In a dim room. Thinner. But alive. "Hey," he said. "I saw the footage. You did it. You got them to see. I don't know where this all ends, but if you're still playing, I think the board's finally open." He smiled, tired but real. "Thank you." Then the screen faded to black. Brooke was the first to call. "You saw it?" "Yeah. He's okay. He's alive," Maya said. "We're not done." The offers started flooding in. Sponsorships, scholarships, documentaries. 3 agents called in a single day. One international chess federation offered her a slot at the World Junior Championship. Fully paid. No strings. Maya almost said yes. But something didn't sit right. She'd fought too hard to get here just to play again. So she called Brooke. "Let's build something." Brooke didn't even ask what she meant. "I'm in." They launched the other board 6 weeks later. A digital hub. A platform for players locked out of elite circles. A space to play honest matches, to share stories, to crowdsource coaching and analysis without politics. The first tournament drew 2,000 players. The second? Over 10,000. Streamed live. Transparent. Unrigged. And always, Maya sat at the top table, waiting. Not for revenge, but for whoever thought they were smart enough to take her on. She played differently now. Sharper. Quieter. Hungrier. Not for trophies, but for the kids watching from neighborhoods like hers. With cracked boards and borrowed clocks. Kids who knew the rules were broken, but didn't know how to fight back. Now they did. One night, 6 months after it all began, she got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single note, handwritten on ivory paper. "You win. But remember, the game doesn't end just because you checkmate one king. R.W." Maya folded the paper carefully, tucked it into her notebook, then walked to the board in her room, reset the pieces, and whispered, "Good. I hope you're still playing." Because now, so was she. The pieces were set. It was a Sunday night in South Baltimore, and Maya was back at the same cracked stone table in Carroll Park where she'd first learned to punish opening blunders and pick apart endgames with nothing but instinct and memory. The streetlights flickered overhead. The old men who used to scoff at her were long gone. Now, the benches around the table were full, teenagers, photographers, someone live-streaming from a phone on a cheap tripod. And across from her sat Grandmaster Inessa Volkov. Fight Top 10. Russian-born. Silent. Clinical. A chess machine with titanium nerves. She didn't blink when she sat down. Didn't smile when Maya offered her hand. Volkov had accepted Maya's open challenge, a live-streamed exhibition to raise money for the other board's new youth mentorship fund. But everyone knew this was more than that. This was the moment Maya stepped beyond the story that made her famous, the girl who beat a billionaire, and into the space where legends lived or died. The timer buzzed. Volkov moved. 1.E4. Maya didn't even look at the clock. 1C5. Sicilian. No more hiding. No more proving. This was war. Angela watched from a nearby folding chair, her hands wrapped around a styrofoam cup of tea. She didn't like the spectacle, the cameras, the pressure. But Maya insisted on being here, on being seen, on letting people know you didn't have to speak with an accent or a pedigree to play like a god. She'd seen her daughter sharpen herself over the past year, not just her mind, but her whole presence. Maya walked like someone who'd survived fire and come out clean on the other side. Angela didn't worry about her cracking anymore. She worried about who might try to break her because she hadn't. The game moved fast. Volkov was brutal in the middle game, precise, ruthless. Her knights danced around Maya's defenses like ghosts. Onlookers murmured. Someone said Maya was on the ropes by move 19. They didn't see what Maya saw. She let her queen hang for half a second too long. Volkov bit. And in that moment, when the Russian moved too confidently, too early, Maya's trap sprang shut. Fork. Tension built. Volkov shifted in her seat. That was when Maya knew she had her. The chat exploded. Tens of thousands watching. Comments flying in from India, Brazil, Nigeria. She's doing it again. Volkov slipping. How is she seeing this? Maya F***ing Johnson. Move after move, Maya ground her down. No flourishes. No drama. Just perfect pressure. On move 38, Volkov resigned. The crowd didn't cheer. They gasped. It was like watching gravity reverse. Volkov stood, looked Maya dead in the eye, and, for the first time all night, nodded. Just once. It meant more than any speech. Maya stood too. No smile. No gloating. She reached out. They shook hands. Then she turned to the camera and said quietly, "For every kid they said wasn't supposed to be here, this was for you." That night, her phone buzzed until it died. Sponsors, agents, TV interviews, offers from Europe, Asia, everywhere. She didn't answer any of them. She and Brooke sat on the rooftop of the community center they were converting into the other board's first physical training space. Pizza boxes between them. Sweaters pulled tight against the wind. "You know," Brooke said, wiping cheese grease off her fingers. "You could go pro for real now. Tour. Titles. Live off this." Maya leaned back. Looked at the stars. "I am pro," she said. "I'm just not for sale." Brooke raised her bottle of root beer. "To staying dangerous." Maya clinked hers against it. "To staying free." But freedom wasn't something you just had. It was something you protected. Because not everyone was cheering. Not everyone wanted her to rise. And Wexler hadn't said his last word. Not even close. The first sign came a week later. A cease and desist from Wexler Enterprises, claiming the other board had violated proprietary intellectual property by distributing footage from the Dowman match. Brooke read it 3 times before snorting. "They're accusing us of leaking the truth. They're trying to freeze us," Maya said. "Slow us down. They're scared. They should be." But Maya knew Wexler. He didn't care about lawsuits. He didn't care about truth or fairness or PR. He cared about power. And if he couldn't buy Maya, he'd try to destroy what she was building. That night, a fire broke out in the community center. Small, contained, but deliberate. The training boards were charred. The recording equipment melted. The wiring ripped out. No fingerprints. No witnesses. Just a note left on Maya's desk. One sentence. "Time's up. Off the board, or we start removing pieces." Maya didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. She just picked up the note, handed it to Brooke, and said, "So we fight on a bigger board." Because Wexler had just made his first real mistake since the day he'd called the maid's daughter over as a joke. He reminded her this wasn't a win. It was a war. And Maya Johnson was just getting started. They rebuilt in a week. Not the building. That would take time, but the momentum, the vision, the network. Maya and Brooke didn't wait for permits or insurance claims. They launched a 24-hour fundraising stream the next morning. A rotating gauntlet of speed matches, chess commentary, and guest appearances by every rising player they'd ever lifted up or inspired. The broadcast didn't even have a name, just the words pulsing in bold across the screen. They burned it down. We build it again. By the end of the first day, they'd raised $187,000. By day 2, $500,000. By the end of the week, Maya had offers from 3 mayors, 2 community centers, and 1 international chess foundation to rebuild anywhere she wanted. But she didn't go anywhere. She stayed in Baltimore. Because this is where it started. This is where she was underestimated. This is where it ends. The threat didn't go away. Wexler's legal team filed an injunction to freeze their funding accounts, citing safety concerns. Maya's personal bank card stopped working. She and Brooks started getting followed on their way home. The same black SUV in different parking spots. Always there. Always silent. One night, Brooke came in with her hoodie soaked in sweat and her knuckles scraped. "Guy tried to grab my phone," she said, breathing hard. Maya stood. "You okay?" Brooke nodded. Didn't get it. Who was he? No ID. Just said, "Tell her the next move matters more." Maya didn't sit back down. She went to the cabinet, pulled out a hard drive, and started uploading their entire system to 4 separate encrypted vaults. If Wexler thought they were going to be quiet now, he hadn't been paying attention. The invitation came 3 days later. Mailed. No digital trail. Heavy cardstock. Sealed in red wax. The Kingmaker Invitational. Private match. Confidential audience. 1 board. 1 game. No return address. But she knew who it was from. Wexler wasn't hiding anymore. Inside the envelope was a single line. "Come play, or I rewrite your legacy for you." Angela wanted to tear it up. "You don't owe him anything," she said, gripping the letter. "You already beat him. You broke him." Maya didn't answer. Because it wasn't about winning. It was about refusing to disappear. About showing the world that you don't walk away from a fight just because the other side has more money. "You go to that match," Angela said finally. "You go on your terms." Maya nodded. "Then we go together." The venue was a mansion on the edge of D.C., unlisted and unmarked, surrounded by trees and tinted glass. The kind of place people go to feel untouchable. Maya walked in wearing a navy hoodie, jeans, and the same worn sneakers she'd played in at Dowman. Brooke and Angela flanked her like twin shadows. Inside, the guests were already waiting. They weren't chess fans. They were investors, lobbyists, corporate collectors who bet on players the way gamblers bet on horses. And Ray Wexler, of course, sitting at the board. The exact same board from that night in the garden. The same polished mahogany. Same pieces. Same smug smirk on his face. "You came," he said. "You threatened my name." "Of course I came." He gestured to the seat across from him. She didn't take it. "What's the real prize here?" she asked. He smiled. "If you win, I sign over the original Dowman footage to you. The uncut archive. Every whisper. Every piece of buried proof you never found. And if I lose..." He leaned forward. "You say nothing else. You walk away. Quietly. And I let the other board live, but I own the name." Maya stared at him. She knew it was a trap. But she also knew something else. Wexler was addicted to control. He needed this to be a win. Not in silence, but in front of people. On his stage. That was his weakness. She sat down. He tapped the clock. And moved. It was a brutal opening. He came fast, reckless, but smart. Pushing her into a tight corner, trying to dictate tempo and take away her comfort zones. She didn't push back. She absorbed. She let him think he was winning. Let him think she was scrambling. Angela watched from the corner of the room, her arms folded, eyes narrow. Brooke streamed audio through a hidden mic clipped under Maya's collar, not live, but archived, just in case. By move 22, the match looked even. By move 30, Wexler leaned back in his chair, pleased. "I underestimated you once," he said. "I won't do it again." Maya's voice was quiet. "You didn't underestimate me. You just didn't listen." She moved. Bishop to f6. Wexler blinked. Moved his queen. She moved again. Knight to e4. He flinched. By move 35, he was locked. By move 38, she smiled. And on move 40, she whispered, just loud enough for the mic. "Check." The room went still. Wexler's hands hovered over the board. He stared at the pieces like they'd betrayed him. He knew. Everyone knew. It was over. Again. He tipped his king. Maya leaned forward. "Send the files." He looked up, and for the first time in their long, cruel game, Ray Wexler looked small. Fine, he said. Then, quieter. You know you won't keep them down forever. Systems don't die. They just change faces. Maya stood. No, she said. They die when people stop being afraid of them. She walked out. Didn't look back. Angela and Brooke followed. And outside, in the clean air and open night, Maya finally let herself breathe. They had everything. The proof. The name. The movement. Now they just had to finish what they started. The war was nearly won. But one more move remained. Maya didn't sleep for 2 days. The files Wexler sent were real. Everything he promised, and more. She poured through them in silence. Angela made food she didn't eat. Brooke kept guard at the front window, laptop open, security cam app loaded. They knew the moment they cracked these files wide, things would escalate. But Maya didn't want revenge anymore. She wanted consequence. She wanted systems to bend the way she'd bent queens and kings and rooks across boards since she was 10. So she built the drop. Not just a press blast. A coordinated strike. She reached out to every reporter who ever covered her. Every student Wexler had silenced. Every coach who'd quietly stepped away. Every voice that had been dismissed, ignored, buried. Brooke built the site. Angela found a lawyer who didn't flinch when they explained who they were going up against. They called it the King's Gambit, a reference, an irony, and a warning. The files went live at midnight. By sunrise, the world had changed. Headlines flooded in. Maya Johnson drops archive of proof in billionaire match-fixing scandal. Whistleblower site exposes years of academic and corporate corruption. This isn't about chess anymore. It's about power. The videos showed everything. Private calls between Wexler and Dalman officials, documentation of psychological pressure tactics used on teens, even financial ledgers listing payments to student families who were persuaded to leave quietly. And then, the bombshell, hidden surveillance footage of Caleb King the night he disappeared. Distorted audio, but his voice clear. They can't keep doing this. Someone has to break the board. That video was shared 12 million times in 2 days. Dalman Academy shut down for restructuring. Wexler stepped down from his board positions. His publicist tried to spin it as a season of reflection. It didn't work. Investors pulled out. Legal investigations launched. International chess bodies issued statements calling for a full review of sponsorship influence in professional chess. But Maya knew cleaning house wasn't enough. They had to rebuild it. So she did. The new space opened in the center of West Baltimore. No marble, no gates, no manicured courtyards. Just a converted warehouse with walls painted by local artists and a roof lined with solar panels. Inside, rows of boards, classrooms, computers, cameras. Every match streamed. Every coach vetted. Every student seen. They called it the Other Board HQ. And on opening day, Maya gave no speech. She just walked to the center, sat down, and played a game against a 12-year-old girl who beat her in 37 moves and grinned the whole time. That was the point. A week later, Angela sat with Maya on the center bench out front, watching kids file out after their evening training. You did it, she said quietly. Maya smiled. Not yet. Angela raised an eyebrow. You're still chasing something? I'm not chasing. I'm defending. Angela nodded, proud. Then, after a moment, she added, You know they'll try to replace him. Wexler. There's always another man in a navy sweater waiting to sit at the top of the board. Maya looked at the city skyline. Then I'll keep flipping the board, she said. That night, she sat at her desk alone. She opened the last video in the Wexler archive, one she hadn't been ready to watch until now. It was surveillance footage from that night. The first match. The joke that wasn't a joke. Her, sitting across from him. That king falling. The moment that started it all. She watched it through. Then she rewound it. Watched again. Her voice in the clip was so calm. Do you want to resign? He hesitated. But he had to answer. Because even billionaires, in the end, play by the same rules on a board. She leaned back and whispered the line again, but this time not as a question. You resign. She closed the laptop. Outside, the city pulsed, full of new games. New players. A generation watching her. Waiting. Learning. Planning. And Maya Johnson? She wasn't waiting anymore. She was teaching them to win. The storm finally passed. Months had gone by since Maya brought Wexler to his knees. Not with outrage, but with proof. Not with screaming, but with strategy. Now the world was different. A little louder. A little braver. A little more ready to believe girls who spoke with facts instead of favors. But winning came with a cost. Every time Maya walked into a room now, people knew her. Some stared with awe. Some smiled like they were proud of something she'd done for them. And some, especially the ones in suits, looked at her the way old players look at a board they can't control anymore. As a problem, she wasn't afraid of them. But she felt the weight. She just didn't show it. Because kids were watching now. On a cold October morning, Maya got a message from Mr. Dillon, the only teacher who had ever looked at her and seen her. He said he was hosting a citywide scholastic chess event and wanted her to come. Not as a guest. Not as a celebrity. As a mentor. No speeches, he wrote. Just sit. Play. Be who you are. Maya smiled. She packed her bag and took the train alone. When she arrived, the gym was already full. Kids in mismatched uniforms, homemade shirts, some using boards with missing pieces and clocks held together by tape. But they were there, laughing, competing, learning. She stood by the doorway a long time before anyone noticed. And then a voice said, shy and hopeful, Are you Maya Johnson? A boy. Couldn't be more than 9. She turned. Yeah. His eyes widened. He turned to his teammate, whispering like he'd seen a superhero in real life. Maya knelt. What's your name? Corey. You playing? He nodded fast. I'm on board too. I'm not great at openings yet, but I'm really good in endgames. She grinned. That's where the real game lives. He smiled so hard it looked like it hurt. Then, after a pause, do you want to play? She looked around. No fanfare. No suits. No pressure. Just a room full of kids who loved the board the way she did. Yeah, she said. Let's play. They sat on the floor in a corner. No cameras. No crowd. Just Maya and Corey, a scuffed plastic board between them, and the steady tick of a borrowed clock. Corey opened with a clumsy but honest 1.d4. Maya replied. And for the next 20 minutes, the world melted away. No scandals. No billionaires. No pressure. Just play. She let him take her bishop. He missed a mate in 3, but saw the mate in 1 2 moves later. When he shouted, checkmate, she grinned like she hadn't in months. He threw his hands in the air. I beat Maya Johnson. Only barely, she said, nudging his knight. From across the room, Mr. Dillon caught her eye. He smiled. She smiled back. There it was again. That fire. Not the fire of revenge or anger or resistance, but the fire that says, I belong here. So do you. Later, when she left the gym, she checked her phone. Hundreds of messages. Interview requests. A voicemail from a famous grandmaster asking if she'd consider coaching his daughter. She ignored them all. Instead, she called her mom. Angela picked up on the first ring. Hey, Maya said. Hey, baby. Everything all right? Maya looked up at the sky. Cold. Clear. Yeah, she said. It is. You win again? No, she said. I lost. To a 9-year-old. Angela laughed. Sounds like you got better. Yeah, Maya said, smiling. I think I did. That night, back at the other board HQ, Maya sat at her desk alone. A letter sat beside her. Old. Unopened. One last envelope from Wexler, sent before he disappeared from public view. He hadn't spoken since the match. She'd never opened it. Now she did. Inside. You were never the pawn. You were never the queen. You were always the player. I just didn't see it in time. She folded the letter. Didn't smile. Didn't cry. Just placed it in her notebook. The same one she'd used when she was 10, learning chess on the back steps while her mother folded sheets inside. The board was hers now. And so was the future. Somewhere, a little girl picks up a pawn for the first time. And somewhere else, someone looks at her and thinks, not worth the trouble. But if they know what Maya knows, they'll remember. Every pawn has the power to become a queen. And some become legends.